Okay, now we will understand the double helical or how the double helical structure of the DNA was formed. Okay, so now we'll understand the double helical structure of DNA. Okay, now we'll understand the double helical structure of DNA. Okay, so let us try to understand the double helical structure of DNA. So actually basically whatever up till now you have understood, okay, on the basis of that you have understood what you have understood. You have understood the structure of the nucleotides. Why knowing the structure of the nucleotides is important? Because of to understand a phenomena known as mutation. Okay, so everything has an importance. Now the basic thing is that you understood how the phosphodiester bonds were formed, and what is the basic difference between the DNA strand and the RNA strand. All of that you have understood. Now you will understand the double helical structure of the DNA, which was discovered by whom? Which was discovered by Watson and Crick. Right, Watson and Crick. So Watson and Crick were the scientists who discovered. So okay, the full name of Watson is James Watson and Francis Crick. Okay, so James Watson and Francis Crick were the two scientists who basically told us the double helical structure of the DNA. But I want to mention, even before James Watson and Watson Crick could tell the double helical structure of DNA, it was the experiment of Chargaff giving out Chargaff's rule. Okay, giving out Chargaff's rule and the X-ray diffraction experiment of Rosalind Franklin. These are the scientists who basically indicated their experiments were a hallmark towards the discovery of the structure of the DNA. However, I will tell you what had happened. See, Chargaff was the one to tell that always A will be double bonded to T. A, the adenine, always links up with thymine. Okay, and the guanine always links up with a triple hydrogen bond to cytosine. And if it is a double or if it is in case of a RNA, then the adenine is double bonded to uracil. Adenine is double bonded to uracil in case of a RNA molecule. In case of a RNA molecule, or if it is basically a double-stranded RNA molecule. So we will understand double-stranded RNA molecule, why I said this, but just you try to understand this I can come to later on. Just try to understand that A is double bonded to T, that is adenine is double bonded to thymine, and guanine is triple bonded, and these 3 and 2 bonds are hydrogen bonds. So this was discovered by Chargaff, and I will show you a diagram from my book to make you understand this thing. See what had happened here. See, this is an adenine. This adenine, and in case of adenine, this is the 9th number carbon with which the the first anovaric carbon of the ribose sugar will be linked, and there will be a phosphate group. And this is a thymine, and this is the first carbon. See, it is noted C1. Oh, sorry, this is the 9th number carbon. This is the first number carbon, nitrogen. 9th number carbon with this the C1 dash. This represents what? The 1 prime carbon of the ribose sugar, and this represents the 1 prime carbon of the ribose sugar. I hope that you understand this is very well. There will be a ribose sugar here, there will be a phosphate group, there will be a ribose sugar here, there will be a phosphate group. And what happens, the adenine and the guanine, see, there is hydrogen bond between the carbonyl and the NH of the adenine and thymine, and the N and the H. As I told you earlier also, because of this what we can say, because of the electronegativity thing. This is negative, this is positive, this is negative, this is positive. So there is a, sorry, this is negative, this is positive, and this is also negative. So this is a hydrogen bonding. and the length of the bond is 3 Armstrong in this case, and in this case it is 2 Armstrong. So there are two bonds between A and T. One length is 2.8 Armstrong and one length is 3 Armstrong. Remember this. And here is the sugar moiety, it is not drawn, and here is phosphate somewhere, here is the sugar moiety, and here is phosphate somewhere. So it is A and T is linked. So it is like this. See, the A, okay, adenine is double ringed, so double ring is shown. Thymine is single ring, so single ring is shown. And there, these are the hydrogen bonds, and these are the hydrogen bonds, and with that linked is this is the phosphate, this is the ribose sugar, and the ribose sugar is linked with 5 prime, this 3 prime carbon is linked with this, 5 prime carbon is linked with the phosphate bond with the 3 prime carbon of the previous one. Okay, and this phosphodiester, these are the phosphodiester bonds, as you can see. Okay, and these are the what? These are the what we can say ribose sugars, and with the ribose sugars linked are the what we can say the nitrogenous bases. Okay, so as I was saying, just hold on for a second. Okay, I'm sorry for the disturbance. So anyway, so what happens is, so linked are the nitrogenous bases, and the nitrogenous bases are linked with another nitrogenous base, which is linked with the another the sugar, and that is with 3 prime and 5 prime linkages of the phosphodiester linkage. So I hope that you understand that this is one of the strand, and this is another of the strand, and this is 5 prime to 3 prime. Here it is 5 prime end is free, and here the 3 prime end is free, and here the 3 prime end, and here is the 5 prime end. So these two strands are anti-parallel to each other, which was suggested by Watson and Crick. Okay, I'll tell you how they suggested it, and hence the bonding is occurring, and here also see, this is the linkage between guanine and cytosine. So this is C1 prime. See, C1 prime is given. C1 prime means the first anomeric carbon with which the purine was linked, or the purine was linked, or the pyrimidine was linked in this case. Pyrimidine was linked with first carbon of first nitrogen, and it was the 9th nitrogen. Okay, as you have learnt in the previous structures, and they are being bonded up like this, and there are 3 bonds, one of 2.9, one of 3 Armstrong, and one of 2.9 Armstrong. So these are the things that you have to see. And okay, and the entire length you see is of the entire thing starting from here to here. Okay, the entire length is 11.1 Armstrong, and starting from here to here, the between a G and C bonds is 10.8 Armstrong. This also keep in mind. So please keep this structure in mind. I hope that you have understood this structure. This is a very easy structure, and I want you to take screenshot and draw this structure in your copy also, so that your idea becomes exactly clear, that A becomes double bonded to T, and G becomes triple bonded to C. Okay, so this is the basic things, that A becomes double bonded to T and G becomes triple bonded to C. So that is the basic thing that you have learned here. And yeah, so one complementary strand is there, and other, and these two strands are called complementary strands. Now if I draw this structure a little bit in a simple way, how it will look like is this. I will show you. It will look like this. Suppose these are the phosphate groups, and phosphate groups are linked with the 5th carbon of the sugar, and in the first carbon of the sugar is linked the adenine or guanine or whatever it is, and then the 5 prime and the C carbon, the adenine or guanine, whatever is linked, and then there is the 5th carbon and phosphate group C carbon, and T is linked, and in this way they are linked continuously. Okay, and the 5th carbon and the first carbon, the whatever G or something is linked, and in the opposite one, and here what you find, that the 5 prime is free, and here the 5 prime is not free, but the 3 prime is free. So 5 prime to 3 prime stand, and here this is the phosphate group, suppose the phosphate group, and suppose the phosphate group, and this is the sugar moiety, this is the sugar moiety, and this is the sugar moiety, and this is the sugar moiety, with the 5 prime and with the 5 prime this phosphate group, with the 5 prime this phosphate group, with the 5 prime, and this will be linked to the 3 prime of the next one, and this will be linked with that. So the last one's 3 prime will be free, and this will be continuously linked with the 3 prime, and here always and always T will be there because it will be double bonded. Here if A is there, here always and always T will be there because it will be double bonded. If T is there, here always and always A will be there, and if G is there, here always and always C will be there, triple bonded. And again, if you extend it, and here if you put C, triple bonded to G will be there. May the phosphate, the sugar moiety or the ribose sugar be here, and the 5 prime phosphate be here, and linked to the 3 prime of the next one. I don't care. Okay, linked to the next one, 6, and here T is there. There will be double bonded A, and in this way also here will be ribose sugar, and here will be the phosphate. Here will be the ribose sugar, and it will be linked with that whatever first carbon. It will be linked to the first carbon, and the 3 with the 3 carbon, third carbon, 3 prime carbon phosphate will be linked, and 5 prime phosphate will be linked, and here the 3 carbon, and here will be freeness of 5 carbon, 5th prime. Because of this is starting from 5 prime to 3 prime, this will always start from 3 prime and end in 5 prime, and it will be anti-parallel, and in this way it will go on. I hope that you have understood. And these two strands, if I draw now simply, okay, these two strands, suppose if I draw simply like this, let me not know that they are double helical. These two strands are complementary because if A is here, here T should be there. If G is here, she should be there. If C is there, then G should be there. If A is there, then T should be there, and double bond and triple bond and double bond and triple bond, and in this way C triple bonded to G and T double bonded to A, and in this way it will continue. And that's why the two strands are called complementary. This is the reason they are called complementary. So I hope that you have understood why they are called complementary. Okay, and I hope that you have understood that for the nature of 5 prime to 3 prime and 3 prime to 5 prime to 3 prime and 5 prime to 3 prime, this is known as anti-parallel. So I hope that you understood this thing. With that hope, I am going into the next topic and making you understand that, okay, Sargap's rule, if we understand, then Sargap said that A is double bonded to 2, G is triple bonded to C, and which gives us a structure. And you should take the screenshot of this structure also beforehand only. I am focusing my camera, though I'll send you photographs also, and hence you should understand in very detail. And what happens is that I will end my topic here and go into make us understand the work of Rosalind Franklin and how that Watson and Crick understood that it is double helical with the experiment of Rosalind Franklin, and how they understood that it is anti-parallel. So we will go into that now.